friends. It's been a little while, but welcome to a new episode of Alex's Crafty Time. This is number 10. Oh my god. So, it's November. I know. Where has this year gone? Feels like it's taken 5 million years and yet no time at all to go past. It's so weird. Anyway, so because it's been like 2 months of a lot of crafty time since I talked to you last, I'm probably just going to share like bits and pieces of what I've been working on, because otherwise like we would be here for years and I'd have to like rummage through my archives to actually remember what I had done. So today's podcast, we're going to have a bit of knitting and spinning and sewing and a little bit of chit chat about some of the things that I've been doing. So if you haven't watched my podcast before, I'm Alex. That's me. I'm an Australian. I'm currently living in Northern Virginia in the United States, and you can find me on Ravelry as Alexi Star and Instagram as Lexic112. So let's get on with it then, shall we? As for my knitting, I finished my Like a Cloud cardigan by Hilo Catelli. I'll put some finished pictures here. I knit this out of like some deep stash yarn from like 2015, which was a merino baby camel blend held doubled with a stone merino lace, and because it ended up being tan, I ended up dyeing it with food coloring, and it took like so much food coloring and I had to do it twice because it was blotchy. So whenever people say dyeing things evenly is easy, I feel like unless you've done it 5 million times and then have practice in it, it's not easy. It's actually really hard. So yeah, but in the end, I'm quite happy with it, and I really like the kind of dusty dark rose color that it turned out, and I think it's much nicer on me. Because the camel in it is super warm. It's really light and nice to wear, but it's so warm, and it's been warm here lately, so like 23, 24 Celsius, so that's like 75 Fahrenheit, something like that during the day. Way too warm for sweater weather, hence the sleeveless top. Yeah, so that's the main knitting finished object I've got. I can see my cat watching me film this, and it's a little disconcerting. She's sitting at the end of my couch with her like little paws tucked up under and watching me. So I've got photos of her doing that before, so I'll put one of them in too, just for fun, because you know, cats, right? Cool. And then for what I'm working on, I've only got 2 real knitting projects on the go at the moment. The first one is, have you guessed? It's the Shifty Sweater. This project is going forever and ever and ever, and it's my own fault because it's on 2.5mm or US size 1 needles, and so it's going forever, but I've actually made some decent progress on it. So there's the sweater, and you can see I have ended up adding in the charcoal, which is like the first color I started with, and I'm going to do one of the repeats on the bottom before doing the hem, because I get bored of things and then I stop knitting them, and then they're always too short. So I'm really trying hard not to do that this time. And then once I do that, the sleeves will go super quick. You can see I started one of the sleeves already, and it did go much quicker. So yeah, this is the Shifty Pattern by Andrea Mowry. I think most people on the internet would have seen it by now because it's pretty popular. I'm using Cloudborne Highland Sport, which is discontinued, but I think you can get a bit of it from Webs. It was a blueprint / craftsy yarn before that whole thing changed hands. I've made so many modifications on this just because I couldn't get gauge. So I started off with like knitting a size 3 in the pattern because my gauge would have made it approximately right. And it is quite firm fitting, like not negative ease, but 0 ease, I would say, across the top and shoulders, which is what makes me quite happy because it's not baggy. And then I was a bit concerned when I got to splitting the armpits, so I added in more stitches above the bust to give me some extra room. And I'm glad I did, because otherwise it would have been like, and would have been felt really tight. And I ended up making the arms in the bigger size, so a size 4, and they're still quite firm, so I'm glad I sized that up too. And then I had to deepen the yoke from the size 3 because my row gauge was different and I didn't take that into account, so I had to add in like 3 extra chunks of the pattern repeat. And I'm also making it longer, so it's about hip length rather than cropped. So someday I will be able to put pictures of this being finished, because having it finished is what is motivating me to knit it at the moment, because I don't wanna. I just want it, but I don't wanna keep knitting it. So long. I mean, the yarn's nice, the pattern's pretty fun. The only thing is tiny needles, and it's getting really, really heavy. And that puts a bit of stress on the old wrists. So, since I finished the Like a Cloud, I decided to start the Lawrenson sweater, which I'll put a picture in here of what the picture looks like. It's by Lily Kate France. It's in Aran weight, so it goes so much quicker. And I actually didn't have any Aran weight yarn, so I ended up buying some Lion brand woolies, which I'm going to talk about as well. But here's my progress so far. This is dark rose heather, and I just love this color. I think it just goes with my pink mood at the moment. It's not too far off the color I ended up dyeing Like a Cloud, so everything is pink. So I actually did get gauge for this, and I'm knitting a size 5, so, and I'm using US 7 4.5 millimeter needles. These are my Knit Pro interchangeable ones, and I use them a lot. But so they recommend 1 to 3 inches of negative ease, and you can see these lines here, which actually surprisingly don't bother me too much. I ended up doing a short row section to add extra length in the front, and that's where you can see it here. And if it was in sewing terms, it would end up being kind of like an arm side bust dart. And the reason I did that is because the pattern itself is meant to have 1 to 3 inches of negative ease across the bust. And like, I looked at the high chest measurement, and it does seem to fit quite nicely in the arms, but having a bigger cup size means there's a greater difference between your upper bust and full bust, and I was not comfortable with it being that tight across my full bust, for one thing. So even though I didn't add extra stitches, but the thing is, if it's stretching extra width-wise, it's going to ride up lengthwise. So the extra darts in here gives it extra length to go over the fullness of the bust without having the hem scooping up in the front. So theoretically, that's what I figured out. So we'll see how it goes. I'm pretty happy with it so far. Going so much quicker than the Shifty. And the Lion brand woolies. This is an 80% acrylic, 20% wool yarn, and I'm actually really surprised at how nice it is to knit, because I don't normally knit with acrylic or like any percentage acrylic, but I didn't feel like spending $60 on this sweater for yarn, because even though it is only elbow length sleeves, knitting a bigger size inevitably means yarn costs more because you have to buy more. If I, like, originally I was looking at one of the Kelborn woolen yarns, like a Lucky Tweed or something like that, and it like, even though that's a very affordable yarn, it would have ended up being like, yeah, $60 or $70. So I ended up just getting this from Joanne, which is a big box store here. And I had a coupon and everything, so it was really, really affordable. However, they sent me, so I ordered 7 skeins, which is probably a little bit, you know, I better safe than sorry was what I was going with. But they sent me 4 different dye lots, which I was very unimpressed with. So I'm basically alternating them. So these are 2 different dye lots, and you can see in this light that the top one is substantially lighter than the bottom one. And I'm just kind of erratically striping them through the body. I used the same dye lot to basically when I joined for the arms on the front and the back. And then I've got one more ball of that dye lot, which I'm going to use to make sure the top of the sleeves, probably to about here, it's like even. I'm also really, because this is a very close fitting sweater too, I'm kind of glad that it's machine washable and dryable, even though it'll be Static City. But just because then, you know, I could be sweaty and wash it easily without having to wait for it to dry for 5 million years. So that's pretty good. Yeah, I'm sure you'll see more on that soon, because I do enjoy knitting it, and I don't know, I just have this vision of me wearing this sweater with the poofy 1940 style sleeves and my 1940 style trousers that I made, which I did wear the other day, and it was rainy and miserable and cold, and my legs were dry and warm, if slightly itchy, but that's fine. I'll make them again. And I could sit down without all of my guts being squished, so I was very pleased with that. So yeah, that's it for my knitting projects. So for my spinning, I have been kind of casually spinning. In October, my friend Berta, who is Knits and Bonnets, she was spinning some spooky yarn, and I actually had a colorway that was just yelling at me. It's this Gherkin's Bucket Superwash Merino, and the color is Dark Nebula, so I feel like that's pretty spooky. And so what I ended up doing was I made a new to me construction. So you can see here it's a bit spooky, and then it's got like the light grey going all the way through it, which really kind of lightens it a bit. I'm not sure if that was the best choice, but I do like this yarn. So this is, I was aiming for a chained crepe, which is a 4-ply yarn. And so I'll put this a bit closer so you can see. So the colourful strand, not like the pale grey one, is a yarn that I spun the singles Z twist, and then I plied it S, and you're meant to ply it S with a bit of like chain ply it on itself S with a bit of extra twist. And I don't think I quite got enough twist in that step. So that's my first lesson. Then the light grey singles was spun S with just the normal amount of twist. And then you ply those both together Z. And that ends up having a crepe yarn. So this should be a pretty sturdy yarn, because it ends up being essentially a 4-ply. This is 170 grams. So the Dark Nebula was like about 4 ounces. And then the light grey, I think I used about 2 ounces of the 4 ounces that I've got. And this one was challenging too, because the first time I put it through to ply them together, I didn't get enough ply twist in it, and I was really unhappy with it and umming and ahhing about whether to put it through again. And then inevitably I ended up deciding to run it back through and put more ply twist in, and I'm really glad I did, because you can see that it's actually got a reasonably good twist angle now, and it's not hard feeling, it's still really soft, and like I think it's pretty drapey. So I'm not sure what I'll make out of that. 216 yards is like a reasonable amount. I can say that the colours in the Superwash Merino, so it's an 8515 Superwash Merino nylon blend for the main colour. It was really slippery, and the colours were what kept me going because I didn't really enjoy spinning it that much. But I finished it and I'm very happy with the end result. So we'll see. I might spin some more colour soon. Who knows? I just end up doing natural colours because of Shave 'em to Save 'em. Which brings me on to the next thing. So I'm actually spinning up, or trying to spin up, the last of the Gulf Coast Native Lambswool that I've got. I've already spun up some amount, I can't remember, for Shave 'em to Save 'em, and surprisingly have a lot more left than I thought I would. So I'm spinning this on my Jenkins Aegean spindle, which is Owie Mountain Mahogany, and it's 30 grams, and this is my favorite spindle. I don't know why, I just love it. It's like a good weight, it spins nice, and I get decent singles. This turtle that I'm making is a little bit lumpy and bumpy, but that's my own fault for doing some really bad rollags. So this is the last turtle that I spun of it. I really love this wool. So I'm spinning this woolen from hand carded rollags, and it's spins so nicely. And I think the main difference in the spinning compared to when I spun the last is I have new hand cards, and they're 108 TPI, so they're like a cotton card by Ashford, and I got them as part of this blending kit, which I'll talk about later as well. But this is actually a reasonably fine, well crimped wool, and the other cards that I've got are about 64 teeth per inch, I think, and so they work much better on more coarser fibers. And the reason why I think it's better using the more teeth per inch is I can see how much fluffier and how much loftier the rollags are compared to when I was spinning them with the other hand cards, and it's just so pleasant. And every so often I'll just like sit down and card like a few. I think I can figure I can do 4 in like 15 minutes, which is really slow, but it'll get better with practice. And then I just sit there and spin them up, and once the spindle starts feeling like it's too heavy to maintain my singles, then I take it off and start a new one. So I'm not sure how much I will have of this in the end. I think I'm probably going to end up having about 150 grams maybe, because I still have a fair bit of the lambswool left, and I've already got probably about 75 grams spun of singles. And what I'm planning to do with this, so I am spinning it woolen, which I said before, so it's going to be a very fuzzy, stretchy, warm 2-ply is what I'm thinking. I'm going to put one into my Vivid blanket, because the other time I spun Gulf Coast Native, I did it 3-ply, and I've decided that I basically want all the yarn in my Vivid blanket to be a 2-ply because it's a lace pattern. And then with the rest of it, I'm thinking, because it is really soft and quite delicate, a like lacy cowl or lacy something that doesn't get exposed to a lot of friction would be delightful. So that is what I'm spinning on my spindle. I'm also spinning some yarn on my wheel. Again, Shave 'em to Save 'em. I'm trying to get to the 15 mark, and it's proving like quite difficult because I don't have any fiber that doesn't have it, like that extra step in it. So all of the fiber that I've got is washed, but it's not prepared. So I've still got a Hog Island, which is what I'm working on now. I've got a Leicester long wool, which I'll either have to like try tail spinning because it's in locks, so like the Muppety yarn that I've made previously, or comb it out and make it a bit smoother. So I've got that, so that's 2. I just put in an order for some Southdown, which is a roving, but it probably won't get to me for like 2 weeks. And I finished Shropshire. I don't know if I talked about that last time. No, I didn't. Well, I spun like a pound of Shropshire, so that was fun. And yeah, and I think the South Down, that when it comes to me, will be like my 15th braid, which is really exciting. And now I just have to knit with all of them to see how they knit or weave or whatever. So anyway, back to the Hog Island. I'm also spinning this woolen through a supported long draw on my kiwi. It's coming out reasonably fine, so I actually changed up to my fast plier, and I'm really glad I did it, because it just, even though the ratio is not that much different from the smallest one on the standard ply, I think I'm spinning at 10:1 rather than 9:1, it does make a difference in terms of the treadling. But what I was saying with the Hog Island is it requires a lot of prep. So this is some of the fiber that I flick carded, and you can still see there's like a little bit of big VM, so veg matter, grass and stuff in here. And I'm hoping some of this is going to fall out when I card it, which it seems to have been doing relatively well so far. But the Hog Island wool that I've got, so dirty. It's got so much VM in it, and the people who I got it from said it's actually reasonably clean. And there are cleaner spots, and there's like some really short. It's from a heritage farm, and that's fine. And it wasn't very expensive, so I knew I was going to have to put some more effort in. But so this is washed, but I haven't flick carded it, and you can see like here there's a lot of salt and pepper veg matter, so really fine veg matter, and there's some bigger veg matter, and you can see as well that this bit, for instance, it's got really like short staple length, and you can even see here just in the wool how springy it is. So what I've been doing is I've been gripping a piece like this, which you can see all the veg matter in it, and then flick carding it to get it to this point. You can see side by side, I think, the difference in how dirty, like the bits of dirt in this one versus the bits of dirt in this one. But that takes a really long time, forever. And I'm getting so much carding waste, which I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with, just because eventually all of the gunk, like, there's just so much unless I don't even want to use it as stuffing because it's got spiky bits in it. And I don't know if you can see, but just from holding it up, you can see the dirt on my notebook. So I've shaken this out already as well, that whole washed fleece. So much dirt. Since it's been nice, I've been flick carding it outside to try and not have dirt in my house. Yeah, but other than that, it is an enjoyable spin, and I would consider spinning more of it if I got it in processed fiber that didn't have so much VM, because it just takes forever. And it seems, so this is my Gulf Coast Native Lambswool, and this is my Hog Island, or if I hit better, would be washed but not prepped. You can see the Gulf Coast Native has like this beautiful sheen to it, even though it's got like these weird tips, but I think that's because it's a lambswool. And it spins up so soft. And this one is actually much whiter once you get all the VM out of it, whereas it's kind of creamy color. And this is reasonably springy, but it feels much softer and like smoother and velvetier, whereas this one to me feels like springy, not rough. Like, it definitely feels like, it just feels really springy. And I think from what I've read, it doesn't felt So I'm thinking that I might actually be able to try and make a sock yarn out of it, providing I put enough ply twist in. Yeah. And that's it for my spinning. So Hog Island is also from Virginia too, which I was pretty excited about. Local. Then I've been doing a bit of sewing. I made this top, which is Simplicity 1693. I think it's in like a cotton voile. I think that's how you say it. And then I made this cute Peter Pan collar to go with it. And so it's crumpled a bit, which is how you can tell it's cottony, but I'm pretty happy with it. It was really good learning experience for me making this top, because it doesn't, like most Simplicity patterns go up to like a size 24, but this one only went up to a size 20 roughly. And I've been reading the Palmer Pletch pattern fitting book, which mostly focuses on bodices and skirts. They've got a separate book for pants, which I really want to get now. But anyway, it steps you through like tracing out your pattern based on, you know, this size, the size of your high bust, to get the shoulders and neck to fit right. I think they are slightly big still, but reasonable. And then what they have you do is like pin the paper pattern and have a look and see where you need to make adjustments on the paper pattern first. And then they step you through the order in which you make those adjustments, because some things affect other things. And so for this, I had to add, or I decided to add length in here, because it would have been like right up under the armpit, and that I think would have been somewhat uncomfortable for me. And then I also added, or what I'll do on this one is add, like, do the lower back adjustment, and then I also did a full bust adjustment on it, and I added a bit of length. So, and what else? There was something else in the back that I did, which I can't remember now. Oh, I pinched some width out of the, like the lower back area, because otherwise it would have just been super saggy. But it was really interesting and a really good experience, and overall I'm pretty happy with how this fits, because after they get you to do the pattern, then you do the same kind of fitting things on the fabric to see how it goes. The only difference that I would do next time is pay attention to how I'm sewing the darts a little bit better, and actually use a shorter stitch length as I get to the point of the dart, and that might stop them from, I don't know, pointing out like weirdly. Yeah, and then lately I've made a few fail projects. This is my most recent one. I decided I wanted to learn how to do some quilting. I'll show you the good side first. So this side I'm pretty happy with. This side is like a nightmare. It was going so well until I got to doing the bias tape, and then it just, everything failed. So at least it's still functional. I can still use it as a pot holder. And this is all just scraps, so that you can see this is the same as this fabric here. And that's from like a shirt I made for Jared, and that's from an apron and various other things I made for myself. And this is new quilting cotton fabric. But I'll probably try and make another one, and then if I eventually get any that are decent, I might give them to people. But I couldn't give that one to anyone, it's too horrible. So, oh well. Yeah. And that's some of what I've been making in the last 2 months. The last couple of weekends, my husband and myself had a friend come down from Philadelphia 2 weekends ago, and we went to Shenandoah National Park and saw some waterfalls. And that was a challenging walk, considering I'm not particularly fit and I have bad ankles from playing netball. But it was very beautiful seeing all the fall colours, and I got this excellent leaf. My husband was across, there was like one part where the rocks were over, the water was over the rocks enough that I was not confident about not having wet feet or falling in. So I'm like, I'm just going to wait here. We're pretty much at the end of the trip. You can go. And then I saw this excellent leaf. Look how big it is. I can hide. I'm like a leaf ninja. On a rock, and I made him get it for me. So that was my excellent leaf. And then we also went to the Spy Museum in DC, which I really liked. And last weekend we walked through up to the Potomac Overlook Regional Park. That took us about an hour to walk around, and then it was just nice having some nature. There's a garden there, and we saw this like bird exhibit of some birds that were like injured and so can't go back into the wild. But that's mostly bits and pieces. I'll try and put some pictures in if I remember. And then this weekend, I'm really excited because I'm doing a virtual fibre blending class run through Wild Hand in Philly, which was my favourite yarn shop. And because they're doing their classes virtually, I can still do them, which I'm really excited. And that's run with, the instructor is Teresa from United States of Fibre. And I've heard she's an excellent teacher, so I'm really looking forward to it. And that's where I got the new hand cards from. So that's about it. Hopefully see you guys sometime less than 2 months time, hopefully. Who knows? It's a crazy world. We'll see how it's going.